Hello everyone, I'm John Tipley, the maker of the Chalky Lawn Bowls Spray Chalk Marker. And I want to talk to you today about the importance of team play. Now, when you are fortunate enough to be picked in a side, either pairs, triples or fours, it's important that you remember that you're a member of a team. That's the important thing. In other words, you're not the prima donna. You're expected to play in accordance with what the team requires. In other words, the way the head, which is where the bowls are all laying around the kitty, is shaped. That is very, very important. As I said, we don't need prima donnas. Now, in my position, these days I play a lot of games as a skip, in other words, the leader of the team, if you like. But I personally don't care where I play as long as I get a game. It can be lead, second, third or skip, whatever. I don't mind. As long as I get a game. That's the most important thing. Now, with team play, let's say we're playing triples for instance, it's important that the second is also capable of reading ahead. In other words, seeing what the shape has taken as opposed to your opponents, where the bowls lay and what tactics are the best to achieve a result, a positive result for yourselves. So the second takes the place of the skip. When the skip is bowling, he's reliant because it's almost impossible to see exactly where the bowls are from the mat, where you're delivering from. The second, who's now in charge of the head, effectively the skip if you like, is there to read the head and direct the skip as to where the bowls need to come. That is really, really important. So as a team member, you should always pay close attention to the way the game is developing, the end as we call it. In other words, you play several ends, you might play 21 ends. During that period, every end is an end. In other words, you win by 2 shots go on your card. You lose by 2 shots, two shots go against you. It's really, really important to be a team member. Now, with the skip is not the best bowler in a side. That is not the case. Some people seem to have got into their heads that a lead is the lesser of the players. He's not. The lead is as important and probably more important than all the players in the team because he sets up what is going to happen. By putting his bowls, as close as possible to the jack, the kitty, is going to dictate and possibly put pressure on his opponent, which will be the lead on the other side. Same applies to the second, the third, but as the head builds up, so the skip, who is now in charge of the head until he gets his go, will be directing where he wants his players to play. So it's important that you've got a good backhand, a good forehand, you're able to draw, you're able to play the upshot or whatever, and do exactly as he says. Now, one thing that really irritates me, I absolutely hate it, is when somebody bends down, delivers a bowl, turns their back on it and walks away. That is totally wrong. You must stand, pay a connection with your skip and also with what your bowl that you've just delivered is doing. How would you know if you turned your back on it, whether it was too narrow, too wide, too short, too long or what? You have to watch till it stops before you leave the mat and then get confirmation from the skip as to whether it was too short, that far short, or that far too long, or that far too wide, whatever. And bear that in mind when you play your next shot. Really, really important. Now, the common belief is that if everybody has stuffed everything up, that the skip can put it right because he's the king. That's rubbish. You should not put that sort of pressure on a skip. Skip, same as all the other 3 players, if it's in a fours game, is just as capable. They're all just as capable, but you don't want to put more load on him than you had on yourself. So remember that team play is team play, T-E-A-M. You're not the star of the show. The object of the game is to hopefully have a win at the end of it. Put pressure on the others, negate all their efforts to get shots. If you see during a game, for instance, that or the skip sees during a game, or whoever's in charge of the head, it might be the third in the fours game, that they have a strong ability on one particular hand or a particular shot. One of the first things you think of strategically is you want to cut that option out, make it as difficult as possible for them to play that particular shot. That's the way to win games. Enjoy your bowls.